الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم ولا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. This is a course on psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is treating the shocks, the traumas that one has suffered in his life and that are affecting him in his life. So it is not a religious field, it's not an Islamic field, it's just a natural treatment for mental shocks that is applicable to anyone independently of his religion and does not involve any Quran or dua or any particular religious element. Now, what is the link between psychotherapy and ruqya? And why do we need psychotherapy in ruqya? There are three reasons. First, the people who suffered in their lives and are shocked and have traumas, that gives more power to the jinns and magic to manipulate them. So if someone has been traumatized, he's afraid, or he lost confidence, or that confuses his behavior, for example, with her husband or his wife, or he can't speak in front of people, or anything that has happened to him because of the trauma. That disorder gives more power to the jinn and magic to manipulate him, and sometimes it can become an obstacle for him to cure from the jinn and magic. So we need to treat both the spiritual side of jinn and magic and also the mental side of the traumas that the person has been affected from. And also we need to make the difference between the problems that are due to magic and jinns and those that are due to traumas in one's life. For example, one person once told me that when he sleeps in the night, he's biting his teeth. And I said, when did this start? That is the question that makes the difference to understand the source, the cause of the problem. He told me he had an accident with 4 other people in the car and they all died. And that is when it started. So I said, so that is a trauma. It's not a problem of jinn and magic. You were shocked, of course. I didn't ask about the conditions of the accidents and what happened to him. But if you're in the car and the other 4 are dead except you, so it has to be traumatizing. And that's when he started biting his teeth in his sleep. So it is due to the shock. So I told him, no, this is not a jinn and magic problem. So we need to make the difference to know when this mental problem is due to jinn and magic and when it is not. So we give the people the right treatment. And the third reason is that I want all my Raqis to go through psychotherapy to remove everything, all the suffering they have undergone in their lives. So that will make them stronger to face people's problems and also stronger to resist the attacks of jinns and magic, because that is continuously happening to us in ruqya. But the psychotherapy is something that is very general. It can be used, it should be used for any kind of trauma in life, not just linked to ruqya. Anyway, it is a beautiful tool and it is good for any Muslim, for any person actually, to understand this tool and to use it. So the first point is how the functioning of the human brain. So everything we live, everything we experience in life is recorded in the brain. Even if you forget it, even if you can't recall it, you can't say it, but it is still there. And sometimes you can meet someone, say, hey, I know you, where did we meet? We were at school together. And you remember all the naughty things you did with him and all the things that happened to you. And that's a part of your life that just wakes up, that was sleeping there in your mind for years and years. You did not see that person, you did not think about him, you completely forgot. That means you're not able to tell what happened. But something can happen, and that's will arise, will come up. That means that it always has been there. So everything you have gone through in your life is recorded in your brain and cannot be wiped out. Now the souvenirs are classified in a very complex way. The first is the chronology. You remember what you did this morning, yesterday, before, until you go as far as you can in your childhood. And it is classified by images. If you see someone or you think of someone, then you remember when was the last time you saw him, the other time you saw him. It is classified by sounds. You can hear a music or a sound and you say, where did I hear this before? Or as soon as someone speaks in the phone, you know who it is. You recognize his voice. So how many voices are recorded in your mind? It is classified by tastes. You can taste something and that will send you back to some kind of souvenir, etc. So anything you can feel, anything you can understand is helps to classify your souvenirs according to that thing. So it is a very complex network that is in our brains. And when we take brain cells, so the brain cells, you see that Allah Ta'ala has made that the child is born with a big head compared to the body. And then the body will grow up to his adult size, but the head will quickly reach the adult size. And the brain cells, they don't keep reproducing all our life like the rest of the cells of our body who die and new ones come to replace them. So after the age of approximately 3 or 4 years, there are no more brain cells that add up in our brain. But what is added is the dendrites. What are the dendrites? You see, when they draw a brain cell, they draw it like a nail that has exploded on the wall. So like something round that's got plenty of little endings. So the brain cell, actually, just imagine a ball like an egg, and there's one principal string that comes out of it, which is the axon, and then you have hundreds of dendrites of secondary ones. Now those secondary ones, they keep growing all our life. They keep popping up all our life. So that is the link between the information. And you see that every time, every moment in our life, we need to make links between the information. If you go to buy bread, you know that you're going to buy bread and that you have bought the bread, you brought it back home, etc. So at every moment of our life, we need to record the information. Now, if you stop recording the information, you don't know what's happening, what happened 5 minutes ago, why did you come here, what do you want to do? So you see that the person, and he becomes handicapped. So those streams, those hundreds of strings that come out of each brain cell, that is the link between the information. And to think out anything, the brain needs to analyze all those information. For example, if I say, what am I going to wear today? Do you see all the amount of information that needs to be checked and analyzed to get an answer? If I say, what am I going to cook today? Allahu Akbar. So many information needs to be analyzed. What food is there available? What do I want to eat? What budget do I have? What time do I have? How can I mix different ingredients, etc. So it is a whole load of information that needs to be analyzed to decide what am I going to eat today. So that is how the brain is. And when you go through something that is painful, and any kind of pain, it could be physical pain like hurting yourself or being hit or having gone through an accident, or mental pain like someone a close person dying, or someone leaving you, or someone insulting you, or just a fear, you had bad news, you got afraid, any kind of physical or mental pain. That event is recorded with the pain. The pain is there. And that pain, how do you know it is there, is that every time you think about what happened, or you speak about what happened, you start feeling the pain. Of course, it's not the same pain as when it happened. It's a very small pain. But it is the same kind of pain that you feel whenever you think about what happened or you speak about what happened. So that pain is now the brain. The information is in the brain is in a chemical and electrical and magnetic form. You see, computers are electric and magnetic, but not chemical. But in the brain, what makes the electricity and the magnetic field is the chemicals, the calcium, the magnesium, etc. That is how the information, that is the shape of the information. You see, if, for example, you close your eyes, you look at your mother or anyone, so you have the image. Now that image is recorded in your brain, and that sound and anything you felt, anything you can recall, you can remember. The matter, it is electric, chemical, and magnetic form. So when the pain is recorded, that makes us an extra charge, an extra electric charge, like an electric network where there is a subcharge that will block the network and stop it functioning. So there's an extra electric charge in that pain, and that means that whenever you approach that pain, you start feeling the pain and you start moving out, and that creates a confusion between the actual event that was painful and the elements, the information that are around. To make it very clear, that makes that if a dog bit you, now you're afraid of dogs. Because whenever you're faced with a dog, and if the dog starts barking, and if the dog gets closer to you, so you're getting closer to that event that was painful, and that gives an alarm, and you start feeling that pain and panicking, and you want to move out, and you cannot confront that situation. That is because there is an event that happened that has some pain, and that pain is affecting the whole area. Means that all the information that are linked to that event, and that is the trauma. So the first result of the trauma is the fear, that you are afraid of that situation, and you move away from that situation. You cannot confront it. You have to move back and run away from that situation. Now, before I move on, you see the link between the jinns and the human mind. We all know that shaitan makes waswas in our brain, and you should also know that when you see the jinns in the dream, for us it is a dream, for them it is a reality. So that means that the human brain is the perfect field where the jinns move and live, because they are created from fire. So fire is an electric and magnetic energy, so that energy is completely compatible with our mind, with our thinking. And that's what makes that shaitan knows our weakness, because to make you waswas, shaitan needs to know. For example, if you're not interested by alcohol, so shaitan is not going to tell you, oh, look at that nice wine, that nice whiskey, when you're not interested at all. But if you're interested in women, now shaitan is going to make waswas on women, etc. So shaitan must understand our thinking, and also the jinns, they understand our thinking independently of our language. So before you put words on what you think and what you feel, the jinn understands, and he can speak through your own words, through your own language. And when we have these traumas in our mind, that makes a place in our brain, in our mind, that we run away from, and where the jinns can stay and be very at ease, and it's like it belongs to them. It's like their quarters that we have left to them. So that's why it makes it more difficult to remove the jinns from someone who's traumatized, and also the magic will manipulate him better. There is the link. So that is what happens in the brain when someone is traumatized, and the effect is that all the elements that are present in that souvenir will become painful, and that provokes these abnormal reactions like being afraid of dog, being afraid of darkness, being afraid of some noises, being afraid of some people, not being able to speak in front of people, to confront certain situations, getting angry too much, not being able to bear things, etc. So it makes all irrational reactions and behavior. Now, how to remove this trauma? It is very simple. We're going to make the person speak of what happened to him until all the pain is out. Now, we all know that when you speak of your problems, that relieves you. But we're going to do it in a very specific and technical way. So we tell the patient to close his eyes and to look at what happened to him and to repeat the thing that was paining him. For example, I would say, I'm driving my bicycle, I'm going through it is dark, I turn around, and the car hits me. So when he says, and the car hits me, we tell him, okay, look how the car hit you, and keep repeating. The car hit me, the car hit me, the car hit me. So he keeps on repeating the same thing that expresses his pain. He keeps on repeating the same thing, and all the emotions are going to come out. All the emotions are going to come out, so he's going to feel various things like fear, like anger, like sadness, etc. So until all the pain is out and he feels well, he feels comfortable. Then we continue. What happened next? So I said, then I'm covered with blood. Say, okay, look at all the blood. Repeat, I'm covered with blood. I'm covered with blood. I'm covered with blood. Until all the pain is out. And then we continue. And then we continue until all the event is over. So that is how it works. Now, I said I'm just going to come back to a couple of things that the psychotherapy is a very general method and very beneficial, but we need it in our Ruqya group that every Raqi should get it done on him, so that he will not be affected by anything anymore. He will be more fit to face the problem of people, and also because jinns and magicians attack us permanently, we will be more able to resist those attacks. Now, if a Raqi refuses to do psychotherapy, what does that mean? That means that he's got a pain that he does not want to confront. So, first, that pain, of course, is going to stay. Second, he's going to have problem to do psychotherapy to people because he did not correctly understand the process. Because if you do understand the process, you understand that that pain that you don't want to confront, that is exactly what you need to remove. That is exactly what you need to remove, and your intimacy that you are protecting, or your whatever, you don't want to show yourself weak, or that pain that was too hard for you that you cannot confront, that is, the harder that pain is and the more you cannot confront it, the more it is important that you remove it. So the second point is that that person will not be able to do psychotherapy correctly on people. Of course, he's going to be exposed to jinn and magic problem, but also to behavior problem, because whenever something happens that has a link with what happened to him, he will be reacting abnormally, and that that is going to create problems in the group, in the relations with the group, and that can make that person will eventually leave the group because he's going to be confronted to situations where he cannot react properly. So every Iraqi should do it, and particularly the catchers, because the catchers are people that were possessed strongly before getting treated and before becoming catchers. And by experience, I say that all those that are possessed strongly, they also have suffered a lot. And that suffering, all those pains in their minds, make that the jinns can possess them a lot. So the catchers need more than others to do the psychotherapy and to remove all the pains they have gone through in their lives. And also because the catchers keep on bringing jinns and converting them all the time, so they need their mental to be completely clean and don't have those pockets, those zones of pains where the person cannot confront, and that state zones for jinns to stay in. So may Allah Ta'ala help us and guide us. So let's come back to how to do the psychotherapy to the person. So we identify the painful event, make the person repeat the sentence that expresses his pain. It is better that the person himself will say that sentence. The car hits me, there's blood everywhere. The way he says it, the way he feels it, the way he expresses it will be the best way to say it. Anyway, we need the sentence that expresses his pain. Sometimes he will be just going around and not finding the proper words, so we can suggest to him. For example, he humiliated you, he destroyed your life, something like that. And if that is what it is, we're going to make him repeat that sentence. So when he repeats, all his negative emotions must go. So the most negative emotion is apathy. After that is fear. After that is sadness. After that is anger. After that is boredom. And after that is joy and happiness. So wherever he starts from, we will continue. He's going to go through different negative emotions until he gets to a positive emotion. And just as a matter of fact, it happens that someone who's sad during psychotherapy gets angry, because anger is a higher level of emotion than sadness. That means when something bad happened to you and you get angry, if it becomes worse, and you lose your anger because you can't react, you just become sad, means you become a victim. At least when you are angry, you want to do something. You want to react. But when you cannot react and you're overwhelmed by the problems, so you just fall into sadness. Now that sadness can become worse, so you become afraid that things get worse. And you see, at least you're still in sadness, but now you're afraid that things are getting worse. And things can get even worse, that you fall into apathy, means you don't react, you're like a dead person. May Allah Ta'ala protect us. But just to tell you that it might happen that in the psychotherapy, someone gets angry because he realizes that his problem comes from something that he's done or somebody done or whatever, and that makes him angry. So it is a positive sign, because now he is reacting, because before, when he was just in sadness, he was not reacting. Now, of course, when we do a psychotherapy on someone, we have to be in a calm environment. There must not be something that interrupts us, and we should not interrupt the session until we finish. Now, something might happen. Maybe there's an emergency and we have to rush, or time is over. Of course, something can happen, makes us interrupt the session. So if we do interrupt the session and the person is in the middle of his pains and his or his problems and we cut it, well, he's going to feel bad for some time and then it's going to go. So we should try to avoid that, to avoid letting the person go feeling bad. But even if it does happen, it will not be worse than what he had before. It's like we removed half the problem or part of the problem and the problem is still moving there. Too bad. But we should really avoid to do that. Now, so the patient will repeat that sentence until all the emotions become positive. Now, when we do the psychotherapy, it happens that the patient feels things. He can get headaches, he can get tummy pain, sometimes he might vomit, he might be crying, he might go to sleep. So what to do? So any physical problem he feels during psychotherapy, that is the psychosomatic problems, means the mental problems that are causing physical problems. And we have to carry on the psychotherapy until that thing has gone. If he starts to have headaches or chest pain or whatever, so we need to continue repeating that sentence and going through the event that was painful until that feeling is over. So we're not going to solve it by giving him tablets or letting him go to rest and have some sleep. Now, before the session of psychotherapy, the person should be fit. He must not be sleepy. He must not be hungry. He must have rested enough, slept enough, and also ate enough. Now, if you are doing many sessions of psychotherapy, but it shouldn't, inshallah, most people one session of 2 hours or less, because 2 hours is the maximum we do, otherwise the concentration will be difficult. For most people it will be enough to do it once. Some people will need to have it more. But if you really are going through many, you should take some magnesium and calcium tablets to help your brain function, because those are the chemical elements that the brain uses when it is functioning, and the psychotherapy makes the brain work a lot. So, yes, to do the psychotherapy you have to be in a quiet environment, and we usually sit down, but you can, no, we don't want the person to be lying down, because he has to be conscious and awake and understanding what's happening. It's not making him go to sleep. No. So we prefer the person to be sit down, but if he feels comfortable in any way, you can sit on the floor, on chairs, it doesn't matter. Now, in the psychotherapy, whatever the pain is not a problem. Even if the person has gone through a very big and difficult pain, that is not the problem. I'll give you the example of the worst pain I had to face in my life. Was a lady that her mother had a hole in her neck to breathe from, and the lady was changing her plaster, and when she removed the plaster, her jugular vein, and it was cut because her skin was so weak, so just cut and all the blood came out, as if she had slaughtered her. And the lady was helpless, looking all the blood coming out of her mother and dying in front of her. So that traumatized her a lot. When she told me that, so I did the psychotherapy on her. I told her to repeat, to say what happened. So she said, she reached that point and she said all the blood came out. So I told her repeat, all the blood came out. So she repeated and she started crying. I let her finish crying, told her to repeat again. Then she cried another little bit and then it was over. So the whole thing took us 10 minutes. So that problem was really affecting her life for years, and it just took us 10 minutes to remove it. So this is to tell you that the amount of pain, the greatness of the pain is not a problem in psychotherapy. What is a problem is when the person does not speak well, does not speak fluently. So that is difficult, because you have to keep on pushing him to speak. So if the person says that he never suffered in his life, that happens. Now, psychotherapy, we prescribe it for people who have suffered. for people who have problems. Now, it can happen that we do it to people that don't have problems, like, for example, for all the Raqis, or if we can, we will do it systematically to all our patients. And we can do it as a teaching. So if you want to teach someone psychotherapy, we should also do it on him so he understands how it works. And anyway, he will need to do it on him also. So that's how we sometimes try to do psychotherapy on someone, and he said, no, there's nothing that made him suffer in his life. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible that some people are not affected by anything. Maybe they did not suffer indeed in their life, but everyone has had to suffer in some kind of way, but that mostly means that a person learned by himself to come over that pain. So anything that is paining him, he will think it over and over and say, no, that's not a problem, and he will go over it. So if the person says that, we'll tell him, look at everything negative that happened in your life and keep repeating, I didn't suffer, I didn't suffer, I didn't suffer, and that way. Okay, this is the first part. We'll come back for a second part, inshallah.